True organizational transformation begins when a leader understands how their behavior shapes the people around them and learns to truly work with people and not just with outcomes. This is a conversation about awareness, about responsibility, and about what truly matters when a leader learns to read a room and not just numbers. In this episode of 30 Years of Wisdom, I'm joined by Dr. Arokia Antonysamy, psychiatrist, senior executive, and leadership expert, for a conversation that goes far deeper than leadership styles or performance metrics. We talk about something that most leaders never dare to look at, and that's the dark side. The unconscious patterns, blind spot, and inherited behaviors that quietly shape how they lead and how those patterns can either destroy teams or transform entire organizations. If you are a CEO, a manager, an entrepreneur, or someone that leads people, this episode will make you pause, reflect, and maybe ask yourself one very uncomfortable but powerful question. What is my dark side, and how is it impacting the people around me? Without further ado, Dr. Arokia Antonysamy. Arokia, with our last conversation, the two topics that we've discussed, I think there is a problem on the work floor. High-driven leaders and CEOs and senior managers, sometimes they lose people not because they expect too much, but simply because they don't connect enough with her. So my question to you is, because I know it's a huge topic from your point of view, and that you also train highly driven leaders, the A-type, I would definitely like your input on that.
What you say refers to certain kind of personalities, Jackie. So in my 20 years of experience as a psychiatrist, as well as a director at the board level, I have seen personalities where they can be very ambitious, very driven, very hardworking, very committed. At the same time, within the same person, there is also a dark side which they may not be fully aware of. When I say, the dark side, or probably, the unpleasant side, I don't think this does come up in any of the, say, even 360-degree assessments, because you really need to kind of dig deep to realize that, dark side in you. Everyone, we all will have a mix of, strengths and, say, limitations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even a dark side too. I think we all have it in us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when I say, limitation, so when I say, the reason I'm calling it the dark side is I've made, reference to a lot of research in this, because I'm really kind of intrigued. What is it? And they call it, the dark side, because if not addressed well, that can lead to destruction. It can destroy relationships. It can destroy teams. It can destroy organizations. I have also noticed this when I am comfortable picking up that dark side in others and then having that discussion with them, and when they are open to accepting it, or when they get a bit more curious to know more about it, then it puts me in a more comfortable position to talk more about it and to get the individual to engage. And where it has happened, I have been able to convert that dark side into their strength.
Wow.
Transforms the individual, and that transforms organization too. And I've seen that. So when it comes to, say, dark side. For example, I mean, I was having a discussion about this with one of my coaches, and he has traveled all over the world. He acknowledged, he said, that's the dark side in me as well. And as we were, continuing the discussion, and I was like, even without realizing, the moment he said that I have a dark side too, it kind of gave me the opportunity to probably, dig a bit deeper, to explore. I got a bit, curious, like what must be his dark side. And then, as that unfolded, he was able to sense that as well. Because I was not asking direct questions to kind of explore the dark side. We were just continuing the conversation. But it's just that he was able to see that dark side, unfolding. And he was like, wow, were you doing this assessment with me now? And I was like, no, I just got a bit curious. I said, I just got a bit curious and I got a bit comfortable because we know each other. And maybe I was using you as a test case, you can say. And yeah, he was surprised. He was pleasantly surprised that I was able to bring out, his dark side. And something he recognized in that, discussion or in that exploration, let's say, he recognized that the dark side in him was the stubbornness, the rigidity. And then once he was opening up, and once he was more, say, open minded to explore that a bit further, we both got a bit more comfortable and curious. And he realized that that stubbornness, that rigidity, maybe, stems from his dad. And actually, we were kind of laughing because he said, that's exactly what I don't like in my dad. And, I can't believe I turned out to be like him, even without him realizing. You see, even without him realizing, I was not doing a psychiatric assessment there, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Coach, and we were having a good conversation. And then when he was trying to understand my strengths, my abilities and my uniqueness, and when we were discussing about this, and this kind of happened, and then we ended up exploring his dark side, and this came out. And it's just that sense of relief in him at the end of the session. Wow, this is something I never thought about. That's what he said. This is something I never thought about. And in fact, when he was, out giving speeches and coaching teams and individuals, sometimes he would make reference to, his own dad and his parenting, and how that rigidity and stubbornness in the dad actually prevented him from growing up intellectually or creatively. And he was so fascinated that it is there in him. But what he wasn't fully aware of is how it actually stopped people from growing, how it actually stopped people from, being more creative. And he was able to apply that to his own personal situation. And then he recalled, his own children making, certain comments which actually points towards the dark side, which he didn't realize, at that time. So this was so beautiful. I mean, it was because he was quite open. It just allowed, both of us to imagine exploring the unknown. It was such a beautiful phenomenon, I would say. Of course, I mean, he's my coach. I mean, I learned a lot during that coaching session, but it also allowed me to share my, skills, to use my skills in that session. So he said he benefited a lot from that session rather than, him coaching me, that particular session. I could see, the transformation. You see that in the body language, that sense of relief, that glow, as if he has found something, about himself. Then, he did not feel bad because, he is a coach himself. So for him, he was like, wow, there's something, for me to work on. There's something now for me to be, more aware of, and how it can impact on people. So that was amazing. And I can give you another example. In one of my previous roles, I was working for an organization where ours was a team of 4 people, and I was the only woman in the team. And interestingly, when I share a message, generally I consciously do take the effort to, how do I put it, to maybe, put it across like my male, counterparts. So I need
Yes, yes. Yeah, I get it.
my gender temporarily for my message to get across. And sometimes you can imagine, a woman changing into a male, to deliver that message, to show her confidence or assertiveness. It doesn't necessarily come across like that. She can come across as probably, arrogant or, something like that,
Yeah.
similar. And I did, a test for myself. By nature, I'm a very curious person, and I learn a lot from observations as well. I like to observe, and I'm, very curious. So for this, in this meeting, I came up with, say, a suggestion, and that was, kind of dismissed, and I don't think people even listened to that fully. That's the perception. That was my observation. And then interestingly, one of the other, male colleagues. So the meeting was over, and then we had to then, share some ideas, outside to a wider group. So when I shared, my idea, I felt that I was not listened to. So I thought, that's okay. I have another opportunity. There is a wider audience there, and let me share my idea. And when I shared, it was like, oh my God, that's too bold, and that's not going to work. You need to take it. You need to take it through steps. This is not right. And I'm like, okay, it's all right. It's okay. That's fine. And I kind of withdrew and put the idea back in that box, and it's there. And then a male colleague, same idea, and maybe articulated it even more boldly. Same audience. They're like, wow. And I'm like, isn't this interesting? What I realized is this is all happening at a subconscious level. Nobody is doing it intentionally. And that's where my learning comes from. Yeah. At the beginning of my leadership journey, I always felt this is pure discrimination. We are coming up with the same idea, and how is it when I say it, people think, oh my God, that's too bold, that's, she's too confident, or that might not work. But then when the same idea comes from a male colleague, the way it is received. So when I was growing up in my leadership journey, initially I would think, and I was so convinced that this is discrimination. But as I have grown, and that's the learning I've had in my life, it may be discrimination, but it's happening at a subconscious level. It is unintentional, if you know what I mean. It is unintentional, both from the person who is delivering the message as well as the audience who is receiving the message. And it's interesting. Around the same time, maybe a couple of years later, when I joined my executive MBA at Warwick Business School, in one of the modules, there was a female professor who shared a recent research done at the school. A lecture is being delivered. The same lecture, the contents are the same, so they are testing this out. The contents are the same. One is delivered by a female professor, the other is delivered by the male professor. The contents are exactly the same. Feedback, they are obtaining feedback from the students. Interestingly, the male scores better. The male scores better. They have done, I think even before they delivered the message to the audience, which is, the students, They made sure that they are ruling out other compounding factors like the voice and everything. So that is all being done, and then when they have there, then it's being presented to student groups, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. The male professor scores much higher. This is interesting, isn't it, Jackie? I mean, we talk about say dark side to individuals. There is a dark side to systems as well, which we need to be aware of, and I think organizations need to be consciously aware of that. Unless they are consciously aware of that, they won't be able to do anything about it.
There are all sorts of people that will listen to this podcast. And my question is, the way it goes, like, am I like that? Could I be like that? Am I a good manager? Am I a good leader? What does my team think of my skills? These are the sorts of questions that people will ask themselves listening to this podcast. So what can you do when you're listening for yourself to just check if you're using your dark side in your managing skills without even being aware of it? Is there something that one can do to check themselves? Like, how can one be aware?
I think the most important bit is, Jackie, what you said. When people listen to this, I really want them to ask that question to themselves. What is my dark side? What is my dark side? Do I know my dark side? How do I find out? And when I do, how will I feel? And what can I do about it? What help is out there? So I think the first step, even asking that question to self, what is my dark side? And sometimes the individual, what they think is their dark side may not be their dark side. There might be something else. And it is so important they reach out to coaches, psychiatrists like me with that coaching experience, who would be able to explore this with them. And I think the most important bit is I'm not doing it on my own. So whoever is, like I gave the example, my own coach, whoever who sat at the other end, we need to do it together. We need to do it together. We need to explore this together, because I don't know what their dark side is, and I will be able to find that fully if they are open and they get curious and we explore it together. If they are closed and then expecting me to use my psychiatric skills and my coaching skills to find out their dark side, it may not be as great as it would be when both of us do the exploration together. And I think that's crucial, Jackie. That is important. And the reason I mentioned it does impact organizations, it does impact teams, is the price we pay for that is huge. The price we pay for that is huge. When we look at, say, organizations that are failing, one thing is clear, and there are several researchers that has shown that to us, that it all comes down to leadership. Leadership plays a crucial role in an organization's growth, because that's where cultures, behaviors, strategy, everything stems from that leadership. I think that's absolutely crucial. And imagine if that leadership, that person in that leadership position is not aware of the dark side. For example, I have worked in organization. I remember this when I was just starting my in psychiatry. I've completed my training in psychiatry, where we have a core training for the first, say, 3 years, and then we have specialist training for other 3 years. Gone through our exams. So I've gone through that journey. And then imagine, along with that, also qualifying in leadership which gave me the opportunity to train alongside leaders and managers, then entering into my consultant role. And then, given that I am curious by nature, I am creative, I like to be, innovative, I'm known for thinking outside the box. So when I started working in a team and I'm suggesting an idea, it's a simple idea. It's not like, do you know what I mean, something completely out of the ordinary. It's just a simple idea, but a different idea. It's just a different approach to how they were doing things there in that particular team. That immediately kind of, escalated to the top leaders in the organization. And then one of them was like, there's no way we can do that over my dead body. I wasn't experienced enough, I would say, to identify that maybe their dark side. Yeah.
You've been doing this for many, many years.
Do you know? Yeah. So at that time, because you are, say, a junior consultant, and although you may have identified, this could be, their dark side. If they change this, oh my God, what a transformation it would be for this organization. I think, but I'm not in in an influential or a senior position to actually voice my thought, which I'm able to do now because, I've obviously climbed up the ladder. But just, giving that as an example, in that organization, there were so many creative minds, my colleagues, they'll come with some weird and wonderful ideas that I know for sure would definitely propel the organization, take it to a different level. But then in a leadership, team like that, where there is that hesitancy, fear of failure, or worried about the cost or the impact, it literally it dampens your creativity. So then we are turning our workforce from a creative mode to just to a routine, to a business as usual mode. So this is why it's very important, especially for leaders, to understand the dark side. As I said initially, the dark side is there in every individual. But why does it matter for leaders? Because they are in a position where they can bring about a huge positive impact to not only their organization but to their society, if alone they are able to or show the willingness to explore the dark side and turn it into strength. And I think that's the most important bit. It's not just identifying their dark side, address it. No, how do you address it? Because I can help them convert it into their strengths. So once that is converted into strengths, imagine the transformation, not only for the individual, but the organization and the society.
This is bringing awareness in a total different light and perspective. And this is bringing awareness to people that the world needs, because it's only when you realize your dark side and, like you said, through coaching and help, turn it into a huge, difference to your company, to the people that work there, to the organization, and even to society. We need that. And especially now in this time and age, because we're living through some very difficult times right now. We are also living through a time where more and more people around the world are getting much more aware of themselves and the environment. And I also think that it's thanks to internet and computer, and actually also thanks to social media, because they say it's not good and it's not healthy, but I think there are some enormous great sides about social media, and because we get more aware. What's your point on that?
Absolutely. I think that awareness is definitely increasing, Jackie. People are becoming more and more aware. And the reason I say that is there may be different terms used, for dark side. But whenever I use this, the term, dark side, people are getting more curious. Yes, going back to your point about social media, it's creating a lot of pressure on the one hand, does create a lot of pressure. On the other hand, it is creating that awareness as well. And I think as responsible individuals, we choose, as leaders, we choose which side you take. Do you know what I mean? You can be extremely cautious and be maybe, maintaining that risk averse attitude. You want to see what's going on there and then, let's take it. Whereas others will be more risk aware, I would say. They want to be more curious. They want to be more transparent. They want to lead and they want to be, the beacon there. So I think it depends on, which side you take.
Yeah, and I think that's a choice.
Absolutely.
It's what I'm passionate about, what I teach, and guide people in how to use social media, and you decide on what you click and on what you don't click, and you decide whether you, and this is also with, comes with curiosity. You decide what books you read, the people that you hang around with, the leaders that you hang around with. It's, it's something that you decide yourself. And I think with that comes more and more awareness. Yeah.
Absolutely. And with social media, it's just exposing you to everything. It's all out there. And I think there we need to use it to our strength in the sense
Yes.
it is all out there. But then which one you feed and which one you develop and which one you capture is up to you. You see? And social media is kind of developed in that way. If you look at all the algorithms,
Absolutely.
when you do a search on, say, fear, everything related to fear comes into your inbox. You are kind of reinforcing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
We all have our strengths and limitations. It depends on which one you want to feed. You want to feed into your strengths. You want to reinforce it, whether it is social media or casual conversations or professional discussions. Your brain will be wired towards what you want to feed, whether it's your strengths, or on the other hand, if it's like you're anxious about change, you're anxious about growth mindsets, you're anxious about change in personality or attitude, then everything around you, you will choose conversations, discussions, media, everything around that. So in a way, you can see that, Jackie, you're feeding into that. Do you mean there's no point blaming, say, social media or people?
Oh,
I mean,
no, 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 no.
that is kind of, externalizing, and that's not a good way to handle situations. I think we need to just, we needn't internalize. That's not good, but you need to kind of look inwards to see if there's anything in there that's kind of contributing to the way
Yes.
behaving or the way I am being perceived or the situations I am experiencing. Yeah.
I think this is the right time for people when they're listening. Explain a little bit about yourself, where you come from. I know you've been living in London, I think, for 25 years, if I'm not mistaken, or even longer.
I've been in the UK for 25 years, but traveled a lot within the UK as part of
Yes.
the
Ah, yeah. Okay. I think it's very important because I want the people that are listening to this podcast to really understand from where you come, and I want them to understand, what exactly your passion is, what led one to the other, and how much experience that you have, because these are decades.
I come from a very humble but very loving, noisy family in India. I grew up with two sisters and four brothers, and my parents made a lot of sacrifices to ensure that we get the best of education. So for them, education is wealth. So they did not focus on building a house, looking at passive income and, no, they did not think about that at all. For them, it's like, we will do whatever it takes to give the best of education. And I grew up with really good values. So my mom and dad, they both were And I think, it's really important that family concept, I think it stems from there. For them both, keeping the family together, keeping the siblings together. Even when we argue, my dad, at the end of the day, before we go to bed, he will bring, if I had an argument, say, with my younger sibling, he will bring both of us, shake hands, hug each other, and then go to bed. We didn't realize that the profound effect it would have on us now. So we had the reason we are still, kind of staying together and maintaining that, unity. That unity is strength is so true. Yeah. So that was a value they instilled in us. Stay together, keep out, the differences, and then debate is good. You can have those, healthy debates. It's okay to argue, it's okay to disagree, but then before you go to bed, you need to reach a consensus. And I think that's really, really, important to me. And obviously my mom, she's someone with a very, very strong, faith. For her, that spiritual faith is so dominant in her life. And that has played a key role in, people might call it today, listening to the universe or waiting for that divine intervention. It is so powerful. And I think, I believe in that as well. And that stems from, my mom. And then her dream, people talk about manifestations, isn't it? And my mom's dream all the time when we were growing up is for all the 7 children to go across, the continents. And it happened. I came here. One of my brothers went to Singapore. Another brother went to Norway. My sister went to the US. My another sister went to Tanzania. And my another brother, he went to Melbourne, Australia. So you can see that we were just, and I came here to the UK. So what she dreamt, my mom was, she was not in a very senior position. She worked till she retired. She worked full time. But then this was her dream. And some of her friends would joke, oh my God, you should dream about what you can do here. Don't start, flying. You know what I mean? But then, her dream had,
Why dream little if, I mean, come on, make it big.
do you know what I mean? So my mom was someone who would dream big and dare to fail. And that's me. And that's, I think, all of us siblings, we are still the same. We are like that. And then with that kind of a background, I stepped into UK. I came here and I started my training in psychiatry. I've always been interested in psychiatry. And my husband, he started training in anesthesia. So we went our own, paths in terms of, following different routes when it comes to training. But then again, that family concept was so important to us. So we were able to, make certain sacrifices now and again to make sure that we are able to care for the children. So I've got 2 girls who are grown up, who are in university now. And when I finished my psychiatry training, I've always got that itch. I wanted to, I've always been interested in leadership, always. So I trained alongside NHS managers on the NHS graduate management scheme. It was a great experience. Then I completed that and then started my journey as a consultant. 6 months, in the NHS as a consultant, I was given the opportunity to move to more senior positions, and that's when I started my first director position as the associate medical director. Recently, I've embarked on my startup, Mind Connect, which is, and that was a big shift. And sometimes I just can't believe myself. Why would I pivot now when I'm actually in a dream job? I really enjoy that. The organization is great. I get to travel. There are, flexible working opportunities, great team, a lot of support. I just, I wanted that change, or maybe, that urge in me, or I still felt that, the purpose is different. The purpose of my existence is, something else. And once I made that shift to embarking on my startup project, it's not like an easy journey. It's like, starting everything right from scratch. But I'm really passionate about what I'm doing, which is to serve the community. For me, throughout my training, that's one thing that really pains, hurts me to see, which is the huge waiting list. So currently, again, about 400,000, patients are waiting in the UK to see a secondary care specialist, a consultant psychiatrist every month. I heard the same story when I started my training. I hear the same story 20 years later. And for me, it's like we need to do something about it. You know why? Of those people who are waiting, roughly about a third end up in crisis in A&E, or because of a deterioration in their mental illness, they might have done some harm and they end up in the police cells or prison, or they got so unwell that they lose touch with reality and they had to be detained and admitted under detention to mental health hospitals, deprived of their dignity and privacy. That's not something I wanted to see. Yeah. And I felt I needed to do something. If I can, I needed to do something about it. Doing the executive MBA at Warwick Business School really helped. And when I did my AI module at Michigan, it was like, it felt like, that spark is there, but all these experiences and, encounters with the best experts, it's just, bringing that spark to, to more and more life, I would say. And then at one point I decided, okay, I need to, embark on this journey, and I started. So what I'm doing now is I'm developing a digital mental health assessment tool. And this is important because what's happening today is people are going to chatbots and, ChatGPT for advice, for some hope, because they are in crisis, they don't know what to do. So what we are doing is I'm developing this assessment tool. So this assessment tool will be delivered free of cost. So people will be able to complete their assessment in the comfort of their own homes at their own convenient time. So there is no issue of stigma, having to drive to a clinic,
Yeah.
no clue what's going to happen there. And that itself, kind of builds this anxiety. And then, clinic times, it doesn't run forever. They've got probably, an hour where they have to capture all the information and then come out with a plan. So imagine removing all that and taking it, to the patient where they can complete that in the comfort of their own homes. That's amazing. And then it doesn't stop there. Okay, they've done the assessment. What next? So after that, they will be directed to a specialist. And I think that's important, and that's what we are doing. And I'm hoping this will be able to, I will be involving a little bit of AI, later, because AI is better at detecting patterns that we don't see. Like, for example, Jackie, if someone is experiencing, say, suicidal ideas, yeah, not everyone are going to end up doing something to their lives. There's a small proportion of that, cohort which might, end up their lives. But it's so hard for clinicians to make a clear, distinction as to who is going to end up their lives and who will not. Even the best, say, risk assessment tools, I've developed a risk assessment tool myself, but still, I don't think clinical judgment or, risk assessment tool can say with accuracy who is going to, actually end their life. And here, again, I won't say AI can say with certainty, but AI can help. How? It can detect some patterns. So say, for example, if someone felt suicidal 3-4 years ago, and then they are kind of feeling a bit low and, not sure, a bit, uncomfortable, AI may be able to pick up certain patterns. When you felt suicidal 3-4 years ago, this is how your sleep was. This is how your mood was. This is how the quality of your text messages, these are the type of messages you send. So there seemed to be a repetition in the pattern as to how you are now and how you were at that time before you actively became suicidal. So maybe you're going down that route, like sending the user an alert. Do you know what I mean? Because it has picked up pattern. We may not be able to pick up the pattern all the time. Yeah, AI may be able to. So this is what I would like to embrace. This is what I would like to use to strengthen or to augment what I do. I don't want AI to be replacing me, and I know that they cannot replace humans, especially
No.
mental
Yeah.
health. We are here to show empathy, we are here to show connection, and we are here, to build that therapeutic relationship with the patient, someone whom they can trust and share their story and get better. And I know that AI can't do that, but I would like AI to help me take some of my tasks, identify maybe, or be kind of, a detective like, or warning me, oh, I can see a similar pattern, can you prioritize this patient? Do you know what I mean? So I just want AI to augment what I do. I can actually focus on what I am trained to do, what I love doing, and what I'm meant to do, which is the core of mental health, showing empathy, compassion, and creating that human connection with my patient.
This will be international, not only for England, right?
Oh yeah, this is a global tool. Yeah.
This is a global tool, and it's coming out next year, January, February.
It's coming out. It is definitely coming out in 2026, and I've just done the first testing within a very small sample, because you need to make sure the tool is safe, the questions are more appropriate, more relevant to the mental health population, and users are comfortable answering, some of the questions, because some of the questions can be difficult, but it is important. Do you know what I mean? So one of the risks in mental health is the risk of suicide. So there's no point me creating a tool without a question addressing that or asking for, suicidal ideas. But then you need to put it in a way that is that doesn't make them feel worse. So a lot of work has gone into it, and
Yeah, you're working together with many,
oh yeah,
many organizations and people all over the world.
absolutely, many experts, and we have co-designed it with users, because that's important. They are the ones who are going to complete it. Do you know what I mean? So it's so crucial to bring them at the beginning of this journey itself. I'm so pleased I've been able to co-design it with users, with carers, which is very important, and I've involved clinical experts as well. So yeah, this is a global mental health assessment tool, Jackie.
This is such a life changer for so many people. The assessment, does it go for teenagers as well? Because I know it's in every country, but what we have here in Belgium right now is that there are teenagers literally on a waiting list to get help for a year, a complete year, and actually lives because of that were lost. Because if you're in need of help now, who can wait a year to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist to get help? So is it for teenagers as well?
This tool, currently, people who are aged 18 and above are able to use this tool. And phase two, we will be looking at involving children and adolescents as well. So we have started work with child psychologists and child psychiatrists, and we need to get more children involved in designing the tool that suits that population. So because children's needs, their problems are slightly different to
Different.
adults are experiencing. So I don't want to make it like a one size fits all approach that doesn't
No.
work.
No.
This is, phase one. We want to do it with the adult population, because one of the most vulnerable groups is that 18 to 34 category. So once we get this up and rolling, the next phase we will be looking at children and adolescents as well.
That's gonna be our second podcast somewhere next year when you're ready and to launch. Oh, I'm looking so much forward to that.
Thank you. Thanks, Jackie.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Going back to the A types and the leaders and the managers. What kind of books would you recommend to read to get more awareness?
There are some amazing books out there. And one of my favorites, I would say, was Good to Great, the book by Jim Collins, and it's amazing. So in that, he actually looks at organizations, because if you look at high performing organizations, there are loads of organizations we can learn from. But then in that, there's only a proportion which makes it to the cream. Yeah. So he goes and interviews, the board directors and, the employees of those organizations, because he was really curious. What is it, which actually moves you from good to great? And that's fascinating. I really loved reading that book, because around the same time there was a publication in the UK as well. They just applied it to kind of healthcare organizations, and this was observations made by CQC, which is the independent regulator for healthcare in the UK. CQC had identified a few factors that literally made some organizations stand out, and that goes to say leadership, culture. The third was how engaged you are with other, say, providers, with patients, with commissioners, with third sector organizations, even with the regulator. And then the fourth element, which I really loved, is how you respond to failure. Do you allow your staff to fail? Failure in healthcare is about, say, losing lives, not necessarily. So many other factors where that failure can be safely handled. It's not necessarily about losing a life, but then if that failure is not allowed to happen, if our staff are not encouraged to learn from that, if that is not made, say, transparent, rather than that blame, make it more transparent. What can we learn from this, rather than what can you learn from this? Once you have that mind shift, the more and more you do that, the less and less you are likely to lose lives within your organization. So it's fascinating, because when I read that book and then I saw this publication from the CQC, it's like, wow. Because in that Jim Collins is talking about many other, say, organizations. And then I was thinking, as I was reading that book, I was thinking, if we apply that to healthcare, will that look very different? But actually there were a lot of overlap, especially that failure. It's okay to fail, and not
It's more than okay. I would totally agree.
blame culture. Don't be punitive. It's okay, we'll learn and embrace those failures, learn from it, and move on. And I think that's very, very important, Jackie. So that's something I picked up, and that book, I really love that book. The other book which I'm kind of reading recently is The Diary of a CEO. Stephen Bartlett. I mean, it's
He's amazing.
it's just amazing. And for me, given my new position now, and I'm still learning, and I love to learn. And it's important that I apply that as well. And one way of learning is to read these books and identify gaps in my own, say, leadership, and see how I can address that. And I think it's really important. What I've realized is I need a coach and mentor as well.
Yes, we all do. We all do.
Absolutely. I need one. However, senior I go up in the ladder, it doesn't matter. And for me, continuous learning is very important. It's very, very important. So I will be having a coach, say forever. I might change, because with every coach, you've got a clear plan. This is where I would like to get. And then, that's really, really helpful. Having that coaching and mentoring in our lives is so important.
Yes, I advocate that a lot as well. I think me too. I'm always having a coach or someone that mentors me and helps me through and helps me to see all of my blind spots. It's the only way, from my point of view, that you can really grow. And not only IQ, but EQ as well. Emotional intelligence comes with age more and more, but it also comes by reflecting and by understanding yourself. And when you understand more and more yourself as a human being, you start, you not even start, but you understand other people way much better than initially. And actually, people from all walks of life, actually we're all basically the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you say that, I'm reminded of, my coach now is John Lee. I'm not sure you may have heard of him.
Yes, yes, yes.
He is, he started off in the property market and then, became a very famous international speaker and coach. And when I attended his retreat recently, along with other investors and business people, it was so fascinating there to see the energy. It was not about making profits. It was not about, the discussion was not about making money. It was a residential retreat for 3 days. And it was all about, yourself, your values, your purpose, the why factor. Why do you want to do it? Your mission. It was amazing, especially being a psychiatrist and, having that, that purpose and value. It it resonated, and I was like, wow, I am in the right place. And recently I read a book, Zero Limits, by Joe Vitale, and there's a psychologist, I think they co-authored this, Dr. Hen, yeah. And what I found fascinating in that book is, Jackie, when you are like, a lot is happening at your subconscious level, yeah, and only 10% or so actually comes to your conscious level, yeah. And we don't know what is the 10% actually that moves from the subconscious to the conscious level, yeah. So that is why sometimes, I've been in those situations where I've said something and I'm like, oh my God, I really didn't mean to say that. Why did I do that? You know what I mean? You kind of reflect and, I'm not that kind of a person. I didn't want to, handle it that way. And when I read that book, it was an eye opener where, he says that, we don't have much control over what from the subconscious, would actually filter through to the conscious level. But we can do something about it to ensure that the more productive, the more constructive bits are passing on from the subconscious to the conscious. And obviously, he talks about a method called the Hiponopono method.
Yeah, I know. Oh, it's it's wonderful.
Self, surrendering to yourself and, just being apologetic and just being thankful and, just staying, open and imbibing all your inspiration from outside. It's fascinating. So what he actually says is, when you enter into a situation, you need to, you will grow when you draw solutions from the outside, when you draw inspiration from the outside. And when will that happen? When you are able to, whatever is happening at that subconscious level. So that's where our conditioned responses are already there. So when you go into, say, a completely, different situation and, you need to draw some solutions, don't try to bring in solutions from what you already know, because you're bringing in all those conditioned responses. If this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do this. Don't do that. Keep it and, just be. And I think that's where that open-mindedness really helps. Just pretend as if, you don't know anything. Be so open-minded, you can draw a lot of inspiration from outside. The solutions come from outside. And fascinatingly, I have experienced a bit of that in my Mind Connect journey as well. So we can keep that for your next podcast.
Yes. Oh, this was
That's
so
a
incredible.
completely different chapter, but yeah.
Yeah. Where can they find you? I'm gonna put every possible link, also your social media, your website. I'm going to put it in the description below, of course, on all the platforms that this podcast will go on. But where can they find you mainly?
The easiest way to contact me is, definitely LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and people do message me on LinkedIn. Medical students, trainees, even managers, CEOs, even lawyers have contacted me, getting a bit more curious to learn, the dark side. It's fascinating. So, and business people too. So I think LinkedIn, and I will share all the information with you, Jackie, for you to put it up. Sorry, I can send you the link for Mind Connect as well.
Thank you so much for this conversation. We're getting closer and closer to the holidays, Christmas and New Year. So it's going to launch somewhere between that, because, everybody is going on a slower pace and, enjoying family. And I think this is a perfect time to air this podcast. Thank you so much, Arokia.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you very much, and wish you a wonderful Christmas. And for those who are listening to this podcast, wish you an amazing Christmas and a very happy New Year.
This is a very beautiful podcast. I mean, it has 2 segments in it. Yeah, it's going to be really, really awesome.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much.